Hi, I'm making this brief video so I can save you time and hopefully get over my points efficiently. This is about whooping cough, also called pertussis. You may think the two terms are interchangeable, and they might have been once, but a better understanding of the disease that we now have requires a distinction to be made between whooping cough, which is a disease with a clinical definition, and pertussis, which is a laboratory diagnosis. We need to keep these things distinct if historical epidemiological data are to match up with present and future epidemiological data. But first I need to give you some background. I'm aiming this talk specifically at the Keyworth medical practice doctors. Some of you may know me, but I think most of you don't, such is the pace of change. My name is Doug Jenkinson, and I joined the Keyworth practice in 1974, the same day as Alan Barlow started in the East Leek practice. 1974 was also the year John Wilson, a paediatric neurologist, raised fears of an association between pertussis symbolization and brain damage, which caused a dramatic drop in the uptake of the vaccine and started a controversy that was to last over 10 years. The consequence was a resurgence of whooping cough. The details do not concern us now, but it got me started on a line of research that continues to the present day with the help of my website, whoopingcough.net, which I set up in 2000. I retired in 2011. My legacy was to leave Keyworth doctors with the skill of diagnosing clinical whooping cough more readily than others. And whether you know it or not, you are diagnosing it 5 to 10 times more often than the rest of England. The crucial thing to know is that Keyworth medical practice is probably the only place in the world where clinical whooping cough has been diagnosed accurately and consistently since 1974. Hence, at a time when many countries are observing an apparent resurgence of the disease, and new diagnostic methods are confusing the picture, Keyworth data may be important in showing the true picture, but only if consistency is maintained. And there is now a risk it could be lost, but I will explain how to maintain it, thereby ensuring Keyworth maintains its key importance in understanding of the incidence of whooping cough. I need to show you some charts to clarify things. The first is a graph of the incidence of whooping cough from 1974 to 2018, Keyworth versus England and Wales, per 100,000 population. The main thing this graph tells us is that while everyone thought whooping cough had gone away after about 1990, clearly it hadn't. And when everyone talked about a resurgence since 2011, clearly there isn't. I'm oversimplifying things a little in order to get my main point over. I've written a book about it, which is not yet published, but I'm happy to share it with anyone interested in knowing more. To press the point home about massive historic underdiagnosis and current large underdiagnosis, we have to look at this histogram. It is the ratio of diagnoses per 100,000 from 1977 to 2018. 1995 to 2007 are what I call the doldrum years, when Keyworth was diagnosing 100 times as many as the rest of the country. In 2002, Keyworth diagnosed 250 times as many as England and Wales. In 2012, it was 11 times, and last year, 3 times. If we now go international and look at the years of supposed resurgence of whooping cough in those countries that claim one and compare with Keyworth, it seems that Australia is our only competition. The reason I believe Australia appears to be beating even Keyworth illustrates why it could be about to go very wrong as far as statistical consistency goes. But first we have to step back a little and talk about the diagnostic methods which are the reason for most of the distortions. Up to roughly 2000, diagnoses were made mainly on clinical grounds, and there's a long-standing agreement on definition, which is more or less universal. That is, 3 weeks of paroxysmal coughing, or 2 weeks of paroxysmal coughing plus 1 of post-tussive vomiting, apnea or whooping. Very few people in a community setting had the definitive test of culturing a paranasal swab. The skill was largely absent and the confirmation rate usually so low that it was unhelpful anyway. Things started to change after 2000 when serological testing started to be available. Also PCR testing came in, and later oral fluid testing, all at different times in different countries. Although knowledge of the tests was slow to spread, the effect was quite marked, as for the first time there was positive feedback. Most tests done came back positive and resulted in appreciation that was quite a lot of it about, so even more people were tested, resulting in the apparent resurgence of the disease. Things are about to get worse because of PCR testing. Up to now, if you suspect whooping cough, you do serology or oral fluid testing. It is very unlikely you will do that unless the patient has clinical whooping cough. So the two situations, positive serology and clinical whooping cough, will be roughly similar numerically. What you are very unlikely to do is those same tests on people with ordinary coughs or in casual contact with whooping cough cases. If, however, you did that, you would find many of them were serologically positive without clinical whooping cough. Nobody knows, but it is probable that there are at least 5 times more pertussis infections than whooping cough cases. And it could easily be 50 times in some situations. And here is where confounding factors start to mess things up. Acellular pertussis vaccine, which has been used roughly since that key turning point for everything pertussis-wise of the year 2000, is not as good at stopping transmission as the old vaccine, which is why some of the apparent resurgence may actually be real. PCR testing was not available in a community setting in the UK until recently and has not been widely known or used. It has been used routinely, however, in the USA and Australia. It has obvious advantages. It is very sensitive in the first 3 weeks of illness. It can be done on a throat swab, sent dry, not in transport medium, to the laboratory. The reason I believe the Australian figures are so high, and I think the same may happen in the UK, can be illustrated in the following scenario. A mother brings 16-year-old son to you with a bad cough. He's had it for 2 weeks or more. He looks well. He has no history and his chest is clear. You reassure that it must be a viral infection that will clear on its own, and everyone goes off happy. 10 days later, they are back. It is no better. He is being violently sick in the night with it, and the mother has checked the internet and wonders if he has whooping cough. Because it is a bit late for PCR, you arrange serology, which comes back positive. Mother says in the last couple of weeks she has started with a cough, and so has her 14-year-old daughter. To be on the safe side, you arrange PCR for them. They are positive. You give them antibiotics and they are soon better. Neither has developed clinical whooping cough. Nothing to do with the antibiotics, but they go into the pertussis statistics nevertheless. These tests need to be done, but a distinction now needs to be clearly made between pertussis infection and whooping cough. I think the coding system can do this, but I think it would be useful for this to be clear in the notes. I wonder if one of you would be interested in coordination of Keyworth whooping cough pertussis data. Let's keep the Keyworth whooping cough study going. There are papers to be written. Thank you for listening.